So there's something that I really think is important to talk about. People have asked me about what narcissism looks like in a marriage, right? And it looks a couple of ways. It depends on a lot of times. There will be some overlap, but some things are gender specific. And also with non-binary folk, you'll see some variety of the traits as well. But there's definitely overlap in a lot of this. So today I'll make a video that was requested of me, which is what is being married to a narcissistic wife like? Narcissistic wife or a narcissistic long-term girlfriend, just more of a permanent relationship with a woman who is a narcissist. What does that look like, right? So the first thing I'll start off by saying is that there are some common characteristics or traits that you'll see in a person with narcissism, right? Or narcissistic personality disorder. They're self-centered, more entitled, can be really difficult to get along with in general, right? They're always posing some issue. There's always some sort of a problem. Things can't just be smooth and relaxed on a consistent basis. There's always an issue, okay? So I'll preface it with that. Then there's some really specific things that you can look for or think about. If you're the person who's in a relationship and you're wondering, is my spouse a narcissist? That in itself is a red flag. You're asking yourself that for a reason. And if you're asking yourself that, there's a high likelihood that it's true. And or that there's some other issue going on that you should be concerned about. It's not a typical question to ask yourself. It's not a typical, thing to throw into Google and search about. If you're thinking that or you're asking about that, I would say speak to a specialist, a therapist who specializes in narcissism. There are plenty of therapists out there, but you must find one who specializes in narcissism or has knowledge of narcissism. If they don't, you're not going to get the information you need. And if you go into couples therapy with a therapist who's not specialized in narcissism, who doesn't have that background, you're not going to get anywhere. And you may actually end up being blamed and victimized in the sessions by your partner, who will then collude with the therapist and, twist everything about you, and you have a whole other issue. Trust me, I've seen it many, many, many times. So back to the question. The question was, what does a wife with narcissism generally seem like and look like? What's that like in a marriage, right? So a couple of things. Number one, the wife is generally not satisfied with her husband. Not satisfied by anything, right? His job isn't good enough. He's not earning enough. He hasn't gotten this award. He hasn't been noted for that. He's just not adequate. She sees him just as less than. She always sees him as just not enough in some way, right? And that message will consistently be sent to the husband. Another thing is she'll always assume the worst of him, right? So he's not as capable. He's not as useful. His use and ability is limited, right? Kind of thoughts like, can he really do anything? What is he really capable of? Like, that would always be, a long-term question in her mind. Another thing is she has a running narrative that he's a bad husband. So she says this, she may say this directly to him or feed him the idea that he's just not adequate. Then she also will tell others behind his back this pretty consistently, right? He's a bad husband. He's not this, he's not that. She may even make up lies, and often will make up lies about her husband to feed this narrative, right? Or twist the truth just enough to make him look bad. Another thing that you'll see is she'll say things like, I never should have married you. I should have known better. There are other men out there who are better, right? She may have some fantasy of some long lost deceased lover who she should have married, and it shouldn't have been you because you're just not good enough, right? There's often that sense of somebody else would have been better. I shouldn't have done this with you. You're just not adequate. Okay, that's a huge red flag. If and when the husband does the things that the wife wants, that's when she can be kind, she can be considerate, and she can be supportive. When he's not doing the things that she wants, you have a whole nother story. And I know that, of course, in any relationship, if you're doing what someone wants, they're happier with you, right? But there's a difference between being happier or more satisfied with a partner and feeling like they're complete trash or completely disrespecting them or treating them in a way that you should never treat someone that you're in a relationship with. That, and then switching it over to being kind and supportive. It's a bit more extreme. Another thing, the husband is viewed and treated like every negative and hurtful person from the wife's past. So all of that anger, blame, mistreatment from her past, whether it was with, a parent or her parents, whether it was with an ex, whomever it was, it's all focused on him now. He gets to be the whipping boy or the beating stick. Everything is pushed towards him now. He's going to make up for all the mistreatment she's had in her life. Her maladaptive behavior, she may see it. She might see and understand that she's behaving in ways that she shouldn't. And you know what? She's never going to hold herself accountable for it, right? She'll explain away her behavior, no matter how bad it is, as, well, I did that because you did this. And she's always somehow the victim, right? She's responding to his mistreatment. It's never actually her. It's, well, he did all these things and now I'm finally so fed up that I kill his dog or whatever it might be, right? Another thing to think about is that she really cannot connect deeply, right? So when it comes to time to talk things through, when there are issues or problems that you really want to sit down and let's work through these issues, right? I've seen this a lot with husbands as a therapist. It's something I've seen. Let's sit down and work through these issues, and he wants to talk about these things, and she's just like super surface, or won't even have an actual discussion. We'll just say, well, I'm listening to what you have to say. Okay, is that it? Okay. Or she'll say really, really super surface things, and she won't really get vulnerable or share anything that would be, considered an actual important thing to discuss during this time, right? It's all just going to be really, really, really basic, limited, and not much sharing and connecting when it comes to working out problems. Not much honesty either. Another thing is that generally the wife will think that the husband's friends are pretty much trash, right? They're not good enough either. They're not adequate either. And that's not necessarily true, right? Obviously, but that's done. And she'll, convince him that she's just concerned about him and wants him to have better friends so that he can be a better person or things like that. When in the reality is that she doesn't want him to have friends. She wants him to be isolated, right? She doesn't want him to have that, connection with other people where these people can look and say, hey, this is how your wife's treating you? Like, this is not okay, Another thing, the wife will generally make the husband feel really guilty about intimacy, whether it's just physical intimacy or specifically sexual intimacy. The wife will really make it seem like just something she doesn't want to have to deal with. So it's a burden, it's a chore, it's a job, it's something that she just doesn't want to deal with, right? And this is done intentionally, right? This is done purposely to make him feel inadequate, to make him feel less than, to make him feel like he can't satisfy her, to make him feel like he's not good enough, to make him feel isolated and alone and lacking connection, right? Because behind every narcissist is the goal and process of trying to break their partner down to be in full control, right? That's always what's happening behind the scenes. If she's threatening to leave or if she's, talking about divorce, it's always going to be, I'll take the car, I'll take the kids, I'll take the house, I'll take the dog, I'll take the hamster, I'll take the hamster wheel, I'll take the birds, I'll take the fish, I'll take the fish water, right? Like, you won't have $1, you won't have a penny left, right? It's always really extreme. I will take everything from you. You will have nothing left and you'll be miserable. And then there are also threats of, I'll also tell everyone about how you've been abusing me, how you've been mistreating me, what a bad husband and partner you are. I'll tell your mother how you actually are. And she may have gaslighted him enough that he actually believes these things by this point. So it's a really frightening thing when there's the divorce talk, right, from his end or any end. And then another thing to look for is just general lack of consideration, right? So no Christmas gifts, no Father's Day gifts, no anniversary gifts. Or if it is, it's something that's just like there's not that much thought put into it, right? maybe if she wants to impress people or even impress the kids, she'll do something larger and make it seem like there's more behind it. But in general, you'll see just a lack of thoughtfulness when it comes to him and the things he wants and the things that he needs. And when he buys himself something, the wife will just, she may be like okay with it, but there will always be the idea of like, well, what about me? How come you're not getting me this? You got yourself a new XYZ. You got yourself a new whatever, and I'm still using the same old blah, blah, blah. How is that fair? Right. So everything always comes back to her. So I hope that this was helpful. These are definitely important things to think about. If any of these sound like possibilities or truths for you in your relationship, and this is about, again, having a narcissistic wife, girlfriend, partner, right? If any of these things sound true to you or ring true, get professional help. Do not expose or tell the narcissist, aha, I've realized you're a narcissist. It's only going to cost you. Trust me. Get professional help with someone who has expertise and understanding of narcissism. Get support and take good care of yourself. Bye-bye.